Welcome everyone. In this video, we will be discussing the major factors that put Pakistan on the road of industrialization during 1947 to 1958. Our understanding will be divided into three major economic decisions that Pakistan's government took in this time frame and how each one was essential to the industrial development in the newly formed state. So, the story begins from 2 years after Pakistan got independence. Back in 1949, the customs union between India and Pakistan about a common currency was broken. In the same year, government of Pakistan took a vital decision, chose not to devalue its currency, partly to show the world that we do not mimic India's economy, where the currency was devalued along with the devaluation of pound sterling among other currencies. Another reason behind this decision by Pakistan was to sell jute to India at a higher price now, as Pakistan was a monopoly exporter, enabling the import of machinery and capital goods at a cheaper price. As a result, India refused the independence stand taken by Pakistan and suspended trade as a punishment. However, interests of Pakistan's exportable raw materials remained protected. The decision to overvalue the Pakistani currency paid off in 1950 when the Korean War broke out. Economies worldwide, out of fear of the Korean War becoming the World War III, started stockpiling and storing raw material. The international demand for jute and cotton increased, and since Pakistan had supply, the exports of Pakistan rose, giving Pakistani economy a boost. Another factor which made Pakistan lucky was mechanism of demand and price. Increased prices of raw material not only helped Pakistan to perform in the market, but the increase in prices of the raw materials due to excessive demand enables Pakistan to sell the cotton and jute at higher profits. Secondly, India too accepted Pakistan's new exchange rate and resumed the trade which was suspended previously. The economic boost Pakistan got from the effects of Korean War was not long-lived. By mid-1951, the prices of cotton and jute started to fall. Till this point, the exchange rate was overvalued and exports were declining. As a result, Pakistan got into a negative balance of payment. The government was still adamant on the exchange rate. Following the world economic conditions, Pakistan did not devalue its currency and instead imposed strict trade controls. Number 1, import tariffs were maintained. Number 2, reduction on the export tax of jute and cotton. The twice decision to keep Pakistan's currency overvalued can be criticized for losing trade from India, but it must be praised for starting industrial and economic development in Pakistan. Previously, international trade was considered the major source of earning for citizens of Pakistan, as the newly established country did not have many industries. However, now the traders realize that international trade is not a good idea. This was because of two reasons. Number 1, high exchange rate and collapsed prices of raw material in the international market reduced the demand for Pakistan's exports. Number 2, high import tariffs on consumer goods made them expensive for consumption for the citizens of Pakistan. Therefore, the focus of traders in Pakistan shifted from merchandise to capital goods. As capital goods were relatively cheaper to import, the wealth earned by people during the Korean boom was spent on establishing industries. It was recorded that the average growth of manufacturing sector in Pakistan from year 1950 to 1954 was 23.6%, and that shows where Pakistan's journey towards industrialization started. Now, as we have discussed the effect of exchange rate decision by the Pakistan's government on the process of industrialization in the state, let's understand how the trade policies aided to this process. After the collapse of Korean boom in 1952, export prices started to fall, and restrictions were being imposed on trade which affected the industrialization process. In the period of 1953 to 1964, all imports into Pakistan were regulated with quantitative controls. Quantitative trade can be defined as the use of computer algorithms and programs based on simple or complex mathematical models to identify and capitalize on available trading opportunities. Quant trading also involves research work on historical data with an aim to identify profit opportunities. The trade policy adopted by Pakistan at that time had three major aspects. Number 1, overvaluation of the rupee relative to other countries. Number 2, use of quantitative controls on imports to regulate the level and composition of imported goods. Number 3, a highly differentiated structure of tariffs on imports and export taxes on the two principal agricultural exports that were jute and cotton. Government then started to prefer tariff protection as a measure to promote industrialization. Government wanted lower tariffs on intermediate and capital goods, tight control over import of luxuries, control on other consumer goods, and easier access to capital goods and industrial raw material. The principal determinant of structure of imports and the setting of domestic relative prices was credited to import licensing. This can be defined as administrative procedures requiring the submission of an application or other documentation to the relevant administrative body as a prior condition for importation of goods. This method was explicitly used as protective or exchange-saving device. But according to Lewis, the role of tariffs was a minor one. According to Lewis, the quantitative controls speeded up the process of structural change by giving incentives to invest in various industries and by transferring substantial amount of income to industrialists who reinvested them in the profitable manufacturing sector. The policies, however, increased the speed due to which transformation of industrial sector occurred both by increasing incentives and by increasing incomes in the hand of the saving sector economy. So, to sum it up, these tariffs and indirect taxes played a relatively minor role in directing resource allocation when compared with other policy variables. Moving on to the last factor which boosted the industrialization process in Pakistan, import substitution industrialization. But before that, let's understand the two types of trade policies for industrialization. There are two types of trade policies for industrialization. Number 1, export-led industrialization. This is a trade policy in which country tries to promote or increase the export of local manufactured products. Its target is to mainly increase foreign exchange reserve, economic growth, industrial growth, increase industrial and employment opportunities. In export-led industrialization, industries have to be competitive. Number 2, import substitution industrialization, also known as ISI. This is a trade policy in which instead of focusing at exports, country tries to establish industries of those commodities which are currently being imported to the country and starts substituting domestically manufactured goods with the imported goods. Its target is to mainly save foreign exchange reserve, increase economic growth, industrial growth, and employment opportunities. Pakistan adopted ISI trade policy because at that time there were very limited industries and very low productive manufacturing capacity in Pakistan. And after the end of Korean War, Pakistan's exports have decreased, so it was also used in order to save the country's foreign exchange reserves. Pros of ISI included: ISI is easy to be implemented. ISI policy is beneficial for those countries where industries are very limited, lack industrial base, very low productive manufacturing capacity, and need to save foreign exchange reserve from spending it on imports. However, there were cons of ISI as well. In ISI, domestic industries are not competitive as they are protected by the government. Now let's take a look at how this policy was implemented. Pakistan implemented ISI policy by adopting protective policy which was: Number 1, produce anything that can be reasonably produced domestically. Number 2, once production has started domestically, ban imports of competing goods to save foreign exchange and giving incentives to domestic industries. Pakistan started producing consumer goods in local industries because of the availability of cheap raw materials, most of which were agricultural raw material, cheap labor force, and there was demand for consumer goods in the domestic market. Now, if we put all three factors to compare, we can conclude that the decision to keep high exchange rates was the one which put Pakistan on the road of industrialization, but the growth was boosted through trade policies and ISI as well. Overall, there was a cause and effect relation between all three factors and an element of luck associated, which as well can be said after looking at how Pakistan's economy benefited from the Korean War. If you find this video informative, please leave a like and share it with your friends and family. Thank you for watching.